here we go. This is Level Up, account-based digital advertising. We'll go to next slide. And you'll notice we've got more Level Up webinars coming, so be sure and check your email, hop onto the 6sense website, and sign up and register for anything that sounds interesting. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Really quick, I'll do a quick intro before they talk a little more about themselves. We've got Alicia. She's the VP of Client Strategy at Zion and Zion. We've got Gautam. He's the Director of Growth Marketing at Integra. And then you've got me, Kyle Dugan, the Director of Digital Marketing here at 6sense. And with that, I will let them speak a little bit more.
Hey, thanks, Kyle. Alicia Langi, as Kyle mentioned, VP of Client Strategy here at Zion and Zion. We have 3 centers of excellence at our agency. I lead the charge of our B2B Center of Excellence, where we really focus on everything from impression to revenue. So the entire funnel. Working with revenue teams, both sales and marketing, to activate. In particular, I think we specialize a lot in media activation, go-to-market design, messaging strategy. So one of the clients that we have the pleasure of working with is Integra, and I'm going to let Gautam share a little bit more on Integra.
Thanks, Alicia. Hi, everyone. My name is Gautam. I head the growth marketing function at Integra. We are a division of Sodexo. We are world's largest food GPO with $42 billion in purchasing power. We help our clients in lodging, restaurants, senior living industries. We provide them savings, purchasing solutions, data and digital tools. We are proud of our approach, where we help businesses optimize supply chain costs while enhancing operational efficiency. My team at the growth marketing, we focus on driving revenue growth by implementing ABM, paid media strategies, streamlining marketing operations, leveraging data. And we not only focus on converting prospects for new business, but also help generate revenue from existing clients.
All right, a little bit about 6sense really quick. Our founding, we were basically founded on one simple question with a difficult answer, which is, wouldn't it be nice if sales and marketing knew exactly who was looking to buy our product? That's what we were founded on. And then a little bit on our timeline. 6sense tells you which, when, who, how, what through our platform. That's, which accounts are the best fit. When are these accounts in market? Who is on that buying team? How to contact them, and then also what with AI capability now, kind of what to say. And that's kind of enough with the housekeeping and normal stuff we go over. Now we can jump right into the meat and potatoes here. This is a great webinar, so I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, so before we hand it over to Alicia to walk us through the ABM strategies we employed at Integra, I think we just thought that we'll share the impact which we could measure in the year 1 after we rolled out ABM. What you notice here is a 1.4x increase in the number of pipeline opportunities that were influenced by marketing campaigns. Before ABM, we focused just on the first touch sourcing signal. And then after ABM, we focused not only on that, but also attainment of the 6QA status. And we noticed a 1.4x growth in terms of number of pipeline opportunities. And in terms of the revenue number, it grew by 1.3x. So we actively monitor these metrics, and we are glad that we invested in ABM with partnering with 6sense as well as Zion and Zion. With that, Alicia, walk us through the strategy, please.
Yeah, so early on, we knew that Integra was going to be bringing on 6sense, and that they would have these in-market accounts, these different stages that we were going to be able to work with based off of their predictive model. So one of the first things that we did was align Integra's paid media strategy with those stage-based audiences. While we do spend the majority of the paid media dollars for Integra on accounts that are in market, we do also focus on branding for accounts that are maybe not yet in market, but will be. They're part of our ICP, and so it's important that we still have the brand top of mind for when that account does move in market for our services. So we do run, kind of broad-based programmatic to Integra's ICP. We're trying to create a sense of perceived ubiquity with impressions on Integra as a brand in front of, hopefully what will be the buying committee. Given that paid search is a platform of intent, it's kind of available for everyone, but we do use 6th Sense data to optimize how we use paid search, and I'll go more into that in a little bit. And then we move into our stage-based plays. These are going to be accounts that have, obviously shown intent, depending on what stage they're in. And really the goal here is to move these accounts down funnel with a faster velocity and have them ready for our handoff to sales. So we're leveraging, kind of our primary channels are programmatic, again, paid search. There's a component paid social, email for kind of the awareness consideration segments. Once we know that an account is getting very close to 6QA, or when it does 6QA, one of the things that we do is look at who we have engaged within the account. For accounts where we don't quite have the buying committee engaged and identified, we use content syndication. And, with job titles and functions and an account list, we're able to increase the context within a given account so that sales can effectively multi-thread that 6QA and hopefully turn it into an opportunity in a closed-won deal. A big kind of a big component of Integra's paid media, we knew from the outset was going to be programmatic. From a cost efficiency standpoint, it's an excellent channel for us to get, again, the stage-based message that we need to get in front of our buying committee. So our first approach with programmatic, and one important point to note, we knew also that the DSP that 6th Sense sits on top of was going to be a challenge for us to use because we have very particular personas that we are targeting at really large accounts. So for instance, Marriott, we can't target the entire account. We have a very focused buying committee of kind of procurement professionals that we're looking for, and the segmentation of personas within 6th Sense just wasn't meeting our needs. So one of the first things that we did was use the Google Ads sync with 6th Sense and synced in our segment members from awareness, consideration, decision, purchase into Google Ads. We then were able to, you could pick that up and use it in DV360, but if you do that, you're going to lose the ability to use external media tracker, so no impression tracking, no click tracking, and you're also not going to be able to run rich media, which HTML5s are a big component of our strategy. So we knew that we couldn't pick up that audience directly from Google Ads. So instead, we imported that list of accounts into Bombora. We have a partnership with them. Then we pushed those segment members to LiveRamp to be able to get that B2C data for better matching. And then that audience got pushed into DV360. Once it got to DV360, our DSP, we were able to layer on third-party behavioral targeting segments for things like function and seniority. This was a really manual process with a lot of potential gaps as we pass data from one data vendor to another. So our next approach, and also we're very cautious about the quality of the traffic that we are running ads on. So with that, we decided to move to the Trade Desk as the DSP of choice for Integra. And the process became a little bit simpler because there is a direct integration between Bombora and the Trade Desk. So once again, we would download our account list from 6th Sense. We would import those domains into Bombora, and then there's a direct push from Bombora into the trade desk, where again, once our audience gets to the trade desk, we're able to layer on third-party BT segments for function and seniority. That is still somewhat of a manual process, but we have seen dramatic improvements in terms of performance by going this route. What we're really looking forward to, and what we hear is coming in Q1, is a direct trade desk integration between 6sense and the trade desk. So just like today, you can sync your segment directly to Google Ads or LinkedIn. In the future, we hope to see the sync to the trade desk option, so that we can keep a real-time sync of our audience and our accounts in 6sense to the trade desk. In terms of some tips that we learned along the way, and call outs for anybody that is running programmatic, if you're not using the DSP that 6sense sits on top of, then you want to make sure to use external media trackers for impression and click tracking, so that you can see the accounts that are engaging with your programmatic back in the platform. And our match rates, typically we're seeing 75 to 80% of impressions and clicks matching back to an account in 6sense. So we're pretty satisfied with that. There's a lot of brand safety rails that you have the ability to use when you're using, different DSPs. So we're able to optimize our placements so that we're, above the fold, for instance. We have viewability metrics in place. We also apply our geography in the DSP. So we can just do that one kind of master import of the accounts in one of our in-market segments. And then once we push that audience to the DSP, we segment by geo. We refresh this audience fairly frequently as we see accounts with pretty good velocity move down funnel. We also have the ability to suppress logins, career page visits, so any kind of irrelevant impressions. We can start to create that exclusion list. We can also create a pretty robust retargeting strategy, not just based off of ad interactions or, with online video percent viewed, but also the types of content that they're interacting with on the site. We can optimize to different events on the site by running with an external DSP. All of our content is pretty much ungated. So, what do you optimize a paid media platform to when you don't have a form fill action? And we'll go a little bit further into how we think about that in a few slides, but we're also able to version our messaging by persona, because we are applying persona within the DSP, and we can test that messaging across different personas. So we could run the same ad and segment our personas in the DSP and see what that messaging resonates with in terms of key metrics like click-through rate and engagement rate. And then Gautam is going to introduce our strategy on LinkedIn.
Hey, Gautam, I think you're still on mute.
Thanks for that, Kyle. So I was saying that earlier, Alicia shared the buying stage funnel where we were hyper-targeted, created segments on going across different industries. And what we see in this slide is how we approached content creation. So we changed our content strategy in awareness, consideration versus decision, where awareness, our content strategy was focused on optimizing for reach and engagement. For consideration, it was optimized for conversion and engagement. And ultimately for decision is where we focused on conversion. So we toyed with the idea of where we gate content versus where we ungate it. In the awareness stage, we have listed examples where our focus was on education and not selling. Our call to actions asked for low commitment, and we wanted to solicit engagement without overwhelming the audience. In the consideration stage, our content was focused on deepening the conversations which we are having with the prospects. Now that the accounts were familiar with our brand, we wanted to give them specific solutions to solve for specific challenges. We had medium commitment call to actions, and we wanted people to sort of learn more about specific solutions we bring to the table. And then ultimately at the decision stage, that's where we wanted to drive conversion with a sense of urgency. We offered specific guidebooks. We spend a lot of effort, our content team, creating amazing content. We call them primary content, and we wanted to gate them so that we use this content and get people to give us their PII. So these are high commitment call to actions which we offered in order to help ensure that all these accounts which we have seen progress through the funnel are ultimately converting and generating meetings, which is ultimately a primary goal.
Yeah, and so as Gautam mentioned, much like our messaging strategy is aligned to given accounts in market stage, so is our bid strategy. So with awareness and more upper funnel, we are looking at optimizing and bidding off of things like reach. So that we can optimize the number of impressions that we're putting against a given account. It's really just about eyeballs when we're upper funnel. As we start to move mid funnel, we do optimize to objectives with manual bidding in place, things like website conversions or website visits, or I'm going to show actually one of the primary drivers that we use for conversion actions in just a minute. And then with low funnel, like Gautam mentioned, this is really about filling out the opted-in buying committee. So in that case, looking at acquiring the members of the buying committee through gated or lead gen. So we do, since that's kind of our bid strategy and it's based off of the end market stage and how valuable that account is becoming as it moves down funnel, we do use the campaign group option on budgets to allow a given set of campaigns to share a budget, and so that allows the campaign to spend when the audience is on. We also don't just end our campaigns because the month ends and lose all of that good algo learning. So keeping campaigns on across the quarter and having that budget be able to spend as it wants to. Because we are doing manual bidding, typically our best practice is to start with the recommended bid, but cut that number in half and then slowly increase our bid on CPC as the campaign moves forward and as we're seeing results. In terms of how we think about conversions, given again that there are not really any forms on Integra's site other than the contact sales, we have to think about leading indicators that ultimately become our KPIs on success that Gautam mentioned earlier. And so we need to create some volume in terms of conversions to be able to feed back what is a valuable action to LinkedIn's algorithm. And we need actions that come in quickly, and we need short conversion windows for those actions. So one of our key conversions that we set up for ABM in particular is an engaged visit. So you can optimize your campaign to whatever you want to call a conversion. It's all about how you set it up on your site. So our engaged visit conversion, we call it in LinkedIn an engaged page view, but the way that it actually triggers is what's on the right from Google Tag Manager, where the firing triggers for this conversion event are either 20-second time on site and 20% scroll depth, or we know for certain that this is an account that is in the segment that we're actively trying to engage. And so we use the custom dimensions and the data layer, the 6sense customer details API, which lets us see, in GTM and then therefore in Google Analytics, who is coming to the site with all of that valuable 6sense data, like which in market stage they're in, what company they belong to. There's a ton of data available for you to use through this, through the company details API. And then kind of to that point, given what we've seen in terms of signal loss, and with iOS, with what's going to be happening soon on Chrome, one of the things that we definitely want to implement in the very near term for Integra and that we have for other clients is LinkedIn's Conversion API, or CAPI. This allows us to be able to pass back those signals from the site to LinkedIn, so that we are able to have more signals to the algorithm on what's working and what's not. So there's a whole bunch of details on setting it up. If somebody's not ready to set up CAPI for LinkedIn, then even just importing your offline conversion, so any of your Salesforce leads along with the first-party data will allow LinkedIn to know if they can match back an impression or an action to a conversion event. That's a higher value conversion, like becoming a open deal. And then speaking of, kind of using all of the 6sense data to our benefit, for Google Ads and Google Ads paid search, this is a huge component of our overall paid media strategy. Again, it's a platform of intent, but we can do a lot in terms of who we want to bid more for using the data that we have from 6sense. So first things first, we run value-based bidding. For Integra's instance, we use ROAS, but there's also max conversions. There are different things that you can optimize to, but across the portfolio of campaigns, a value-based strategy allows us to achieve volume goals for conversion actions. And an example of how we look at conversion actions and what those values are based off of the drop-offs, and this is not Integra's actual data, but a sample of how we get to a value to start with on the conversion actions that we can optimize to for paid search. And again, uploading that offline data back into Google Ads for things like qualified leader account or connecting your Salesforce through the connection with Google Ads will let you have a look back window of 90 days. So as far as a lead can make it in 90 days is as much value that you can give to the conversion for that person. And again, this is in line with that kind of leading indicators with lots of volume to our lagging goals of success. How do we use 6sense then to help support that? We have our audiences that for our in-market segments that we use. We have to sync with 6sense to Google Ads so that we are able to adjust the value that we give to a conversion based on if that person is a member of a segment that we care about. So in this example, we have a value-based rule where if you are in one of our in-market segments for lodging or for restaurants, then we take whatever we define as the conversion value for that action and multiply it by 2 because you're more valuable to us. We can also use the segment sync to exclude audiences that we want to bid on. So in Integra's case, they really want to use paid search to find net new logos. And so using the customer list, we exclude any existing customers from branded search queries so that we're not spending money on clicks that we don't need to spend money on. Kind of the last thing on Google Ads, when we initially launched, kind of building out what our keywords should be, it can be a struggle to know exactly what you should use. So using dynamic search ads for keyword discovery and having that as kind of our shadow to our primary campaigns to use the content that you have on your site and be able to have that content surface new keywords that you may not have thought of before. And then once we do find a winner, moving that into our primary campaign and putting it as a negative on our DSA so that we can continue to discover more keywords. And then PMAX, given that we use portfolio bidding and a value-based strategy, PMAX can be really effective. We think of it if search is the marbles, the big things that you're really looking to fill your jar with, then PMAX is the sand that fills the space between the marbles to catch what keywords may have missed. So just a note in terms of media success, we've seen a good reduction in terms of CPC with a better quality of traffic. Obviously, we're able to kind of optimize our media to in-market accounts for paid search, which is really improved efficiency and performance for paid social, and using the real-time segment sync with our in-market segments kind of across the funnel. We've seen a pretty significant reduction in cost per action year over year. And then in terms of contribution to pipeline, we know Gautam kind of went through what marketing has been able to achieve year over year by implementing these strategies. And I am going to turn it back over to Gautam.
Thank you. So yeah, a lot of exciting things with ABM. So let's talk about what we thought were critical factors to get us to achieve the results which we see today, right? The first one is data quality, data accuracy. The data which feeds the AI scoring models in 6sense is very important, because if the wrong data goes into the system, the scoring is compromised. So in order and why is account scoring important? Well, those scores are what are used when we decide which companies to target using our ABM ads. So that's the reason why ensuring that the right data goes into the AI modeling and the scores are used correctly is a very important tactic one should invest in. The next one is ABM conceptually helps us find the right person at the right company to go after at the right time. But ultimately, I think we are still dependent on content, which is the final and critical step to ensure and generate engagement. If your content is not personalized, the person who's seeing our ad or getting our email is not convinced enough to engage with it and just ignores it. So content is, as they say, content is the king. In terms of the paid media ecosystem, in one of the slides earlier, Alicia talked about programmatic, you have search, you have LinkedIn social, and then you have content syndication. There are all these various paid media channels. And then over time, we also have gifting solutions, which require a lot of paid media investment. You also have own channels such as website personalization, email personalization. In order to ensure that the ABM plays are set up correctly, I think you need a good partner. And we're glad that we partnered with 6sense and Zion, especially Alicia, to help us get us to where we are quickly versus trying to learn about it over time. And last but not the least, there are a lot of measurement-related tactics which one should invest in. There is A/B testing, there's feedback loops, there is reporting inside Salesforce for how ABM is performing. And then there's an ongoing thing, we call it data wrangling, where we keep going into 6sense and optimizing the keywords, optimizing the 6QA definitions. So all these are best practices to ensure that the paid media tactics, which Alicia talked about, succeed. Because without this, you don't have the foundation on which you can build your paid media campaigns. So hopefully this was helpful. I think this is pretty much it in terms of the slides we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so we've got a couple questions. Let's jump right in here. Barb has one, and she asked, how did you set up the time spent on website conversion? What data point was that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can flip back to that. So this is a trigger that's available in Tag Manager. So there's a timer trigger, and that is, we create a trigger group in Tag Manager of that 20-second timer and the scroll depth trigger, so 20% scroll depth. Both of those things kind of keep us from just optimizing the media to maybe, somebody that fat finger clicked and landed on the site. Looking at those two things together, somebody had to do some sort of meaningful scrolling on the site or spend meaningful, for Integra's case, time on site. But also combining that as an or statement as a trigger with our custom event, which is having that 6sense company details load and having that person be a member of one of the segments that we're actively targeting.
Yep, and I'm just going to pile on here. The more that these paid media platforms, excuse me, start to go to automated bids that they really start pushing for, the more important it is to get more conversion data points that you can push in there so that you can really start training their system on who you're going after and what you're trying to do. And that is just going to create a much better cost per lead. It's much better cost per conversion, and just give it more actionable data. And that's really the name of the game there with any of these, LinkedIn, Google. The more you start going automated, the more you'll want more conversion data points. Okay, we've got another question from Vita. What content syndication platform do you use?
Oh, we have a number of partners, but I will give a shout out to DemandWorks. They've been like pretty wonderful to work with, and super easy to work with. The quality of the people that come back is pretty strong with them, and they're able to find really exacting job titles for us, so that we're not spending money on people that are not relevant.
All right. We've got another one kind of around that from Megan. Do you find content syndication to provide actual leads? And what do you do with those? My experience has been the leads received seem to be fake.
Yeah, there are a lot of vendors, obviously, and that's basically been at any B2B conference. That's pretty much all of the booths. I think there are ways to mitigate poor quality of lead on content syndication, like doing like two-touch content syndication. We are using content syndication, again, at the bottom of the funnel. We know that we have an account that is close to 6QA or in 6QA. So we know that there's a strong likelihood that in the next 90 days, they're going to become an open opportunity for Integra. So this is hopefully people in the buying committee that have been engaged, but we don't have their PII, their first party data yet, to be able to pass over to sales. So we find that content syndication, rather than just enriching the data, is that's the opted in way to get that person into your sales force and in front of the sales team.
Yeah, just to jump on that, I think getting into Salesforce is important, because then we use 6sense to have our SDR see which accounts are 6QA. But then when we get these leads, we want an efficient way of having the SDR look at them without having to go to like 3 or 4 places. So then that's the reason why I think adding them into Salesforce is important, because then we can showcase it to the SDR very quickly and efficiently.
Yep. All right, let's go to another question. Are you able to identify the engaged page view accounts in 6sense? How do you use the engaged page views metric?
Yeah, so engaged page views for us is something that kind of, Kyle, the point that you made, where we can get a lot of conversion volume back to the ad platform for the algorithm to learn who we're looking for. We can see traffic, you can see any traffic brought to your site in 6sense by creating a segment based off of UTM parameters. So I can see all of the accounts that came to the site from, our, let's call it like awareness segment, through the trade desk, through a given campaign by using Source and Medium. And we do evaluate the traffic in 6sense in that way. In terms of looking at the ones that made the conversion fire, not necessarily, but if they did come to the site through that as their last click channel, then probably good chance that, we don't ask for a whole lot off of that conversion. So probably a good chance that they had that fire.
Yep. Great answer. There's also other ways. If you've got 6sense synced up with Google, there's other ways you can go through and look also by that conversion metric for that page. But in all honesty, just to be very transparent with everyone, that's probably way more complicated than it needs to be versus building a segment based on UTMs. All right, we've got another question. Would like to get your point of view on what advertising channel you recommend prioritizing when you have limited budget with a goal of having more conversions.
Yeah, I mean, the channel that if a client is asking like, where should I, first of all, if somebody has media dollars and they're not sure where to spend it, and you do have a lot of conversion volume, running like a media mix model can help you figure out a point of diminishing returns for a given channel. And create kind of the right channel mix. And that's something that we employ. If you don't have a data scientist at your disposal to run that MMM for you, then kind of my point of view on where I would spend money first is pretty much going to be paid search if I don't have anything really to spend. I want to make sure that I am able to capture the demand for my brand and my category. If somebody is heading to the SERP. But, also, I guess it kind of depends on how much budget you have. You can really tighten up the number of accounts in a given segment so that you can invest like the right dollars per account, which is also how we think about our like the media investment, like how much money are we spending per account, in awareness and consideration and decision purchase. With consideration is where you really have the opportunity to win the hearts and minds of an account. And so our biggest spend per account is in consideration. You can tell me the name of the category and the players in the space. I know that you're pretty serious about finding a solution. So I really want to make sure that my brand is kind of top of mind as you move down funnel. Hopefully that helped kind of guide a little bit.
Yeah, no, great answer. What I like to tell people all the time is, Google search is the original intent engine, right? It's not, and there's no mixed signals. There's nothing to it. If someone's searching your brand, they want to know about you. I mean, you need to be there. Okay, we've got another question. What information can we view about a person coming from an ad campaign besides their company and the page they are landing on?
So I think this is back to the custom dimensions and the data layer and what's available through the customer or the company details API. So if you go into any Chrome browser into a site with 6sense installed on it, you right click on the site and inspect, you can see what information you're passing that is being passed on you. It's going to be things like, and it depends on what the website decides to have as a dimension. But for Integra, for instance, we have the company name, the geo-based IP, the company IP, some of the company firmographics are in the data layer. And then the segments that they are a member of for Integra's instance of 6sense. So there's a lot of ways to kind of slice and dice your audiences in GA4 and then pass back into Google Ads.
Yeah. I wanted to add to that. So conceptually, I mean, before ABM, the focus was on the people who are likely to download the content asset, people who are likely to attend the webinar. And in Integra's view, what we have noticed is there's a paradigm shift where the focus is, sure, there are these people at this company which we care about who are downloading the content. But ultimately, when we decide to have the SDR start making the calls and send emails, we take a step back. We acknowledge the fact that the company has engaged and is 6QA, but then we focus on the persona map to find the right buying committee members to email and call to. So there's a little bit of like, it's not one-to-one just because we have 3 people downloading assets that we just focus on contacting them. Combination of that and expanding our outreach strategy to the right people at the company.
Yep. Good point. Good point. The buying committee is what I just saw it the other day. So I'm going to mess it up, but it's like 7 to 11 people, right? It's never just the person that's downloading it. There's always the person that wants it because it makes their life simpler. And then there's the person that has to actually sign on the line and put the money there. And there's always multiple people in between. So really good point. That's something we look at too a lot with our campaigns, which is later stage. we go after people with personas and things that don't necessarily fall into our users or core people that know about us, because we just want to have that familiarity. All right. What else do we have? Any other questions? I think we've got all in the chat. Anybody else? We'll give it a couple of minutes here. And if nothing else comes up, we will have this recorded. I think this is, like I said, a great session. If you are in the digital growth marketing, digital advertising space, there's a lot of good stuff you can get from here. All right, we have another one. What tactics are you using to target the buying committee?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we, again, kind of like I mentioned, there's not, Integra, prospects really large accounts and, with lots of employees. And so when we run media, we have to have a person-based layer on top of the account. So, depending on where we're sending that audience, those accounts really is how we layer on things like job function, title, or seniority. For LinkedIn, we keep the include attributes pretty light to be able to make sure that we are not missing out on people that maybe have a job title that's a little bit different, but they are going to be part of the buying committee, and then go really heavy on the exclude attributes, especially as you see them come through in insights and campaign manager. So as you see job titles or functions or roles that don't feel like the buying committee, adding those in as exclusions as you go will help you tighten up your the person-based attributes and make sure that you're serving impressions to who you want to serve impressions to. And for paid search, it's a platform of intent. So again, we can deprioritize bids against segment members like existing customers, or we can prioritize bids against segment members. But ultimately, if somebody's searching for us, we're probably going to be there, no matter who they are within the account.
Yep, completely agree. Another one I would say too is like whenever it comes, and this is just from 6th Sense, when we're targeting the buying committee, it really depends on what we have. Do we have a piece of content, or are we just trying to get in front of them? And that kind of helps determine which channel and kind of which tactics we're using. And I will say one thing that was really big back in the COVID days that has kind of carried on has been, creating a white paper specifically for those CFOs to help them understand what value they're going to get in front of that before the person who wants this platform has to go and explain what they're going to get from it. We found that was pretty successful. And with that, we went to LinkedIn to target them because it was content and we were really trying to drive them to read it. All right. Another question from Megan. Can you clarify how you identify personal contacts for buying committee without form fills?
Yeah, that is kind of back to how we use and think about content syndication. We are, we can see in Salesforce who we have in terms of opted-in contacts on the account. We know this is an account that's ready for outbound from our BDR, but we don't really have that many people on the account. We know that there's activity. We have sales intelligence, so we know that people have been to the site that are anonymous visitors right now, and they've been on important pages that we know indicate likelihood to buy, but we don't have their PII yet. So sending that account out for content syndication hopefully helps us identify and flesh out the buying committee so that we can, reach out and contact them through an outbound motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So build up on that, I think there are three tactics. One is the content syndication, which requires paid media dollars to get the leads. The advantage of that is marketing can add them to drip campaign and send out marketing emails on an ongoing basis. The second one is the 6 Sense orchestration, where we are able to take our credits and buy people from the buying committee based on the 6 QA accounts and push them into Salesforce. And I think third one is we also use LinkedIn with gated content to convince people, buying committee members at the 6 QA companies to engage with our content and give us PII, which goes directly into our Salesforce.
Really good point. Really good point. Three solid ways to kind of gather that. I don't see any other questions. We did get some praise here. Christina Marin said, amazing session, very hard to explain tagging, and this was pretty solid. Completely agree. There's a lot of use cases with 6 Sense and Google that just is not being properly taken advantage of, especially I was ecstatic as soon as I heard that they were using 6 Sense metrics to help drive conversion values and conversion multipliers. That's something that we use. That's something we absolutely love. I am floored that it's not more popular than it is, other than the fact that it isn't an easy setup. But it's a super cool way to use 6 Sense data to feed more info back into Google and help round out your targeting there. All right. Any other questions? Nope, it doesn't look like it. So if that's the case, we will close this out. We will have this recorded, and so you can go back and watch it. And don't forget, there are other sessions coming up that you can sign up for through email or on our site. Thank you very much to Gautam and Alicia for joining us and walking us through their strategy and tactics.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you.